Imagine being able to eat without ever having to worry about a blood sugar spike. If you're pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, you might feel as if food has become the enemy since your diagnosis, and you might be so frustrated, tired, exhausted, and just thinking that life is so unfair, and how on earth can you manage for the rest of your life having to worry? You feel as if you're walking on eggshells when it comes to choosing your food and getting ready to eat your food. Well, worry no more, because in today's video, I'm going to tell you about the I call it a breakthrough food ranking pyramid that I created to help my diabetics be able to know what to eat automatically and not have to worry about what their blood sugar is going to do after they learn this system. The other day I met a friend at an event, and he was telling me how much better he was feeling since he read my book Beaming Health. His blood sugar levels were doing much better. He was no longer having cravings for chocolate. He used to feel as if he had to have a chocolate after every meal, but this was no longer the case, and he was looking forward to going to his doctor to find out what his latest A1C result was, because he believed it was going to be better. And then he was wearing a continuous glucose monitor, so he took out his phone to get a reading from the monitor to show me, but then he hesitated a little bit. He's like, I hope this thing doesn't lie to me now. You know, he got like a sudden, not panic, but he was like, oh my goodness, like what if it's high, you know? And that got me to thinking that, yeah, this is really an unfortunate position to be in, constantly worrying about what your blood sugar is going to be, right? And just feeling as if you're on eggshells. And so when I realized how tough it is on a day-to-day basis for a diabetic, based on my interaction with my friend the other day, I thought, you know what, let me do another video about eating and how to eat and how to go about choosing what to eat. And so we're going to talk about this food ranking system I created. I call it the Beam Food Pyramid. I think it's revolutionary because it's just so simple compared to the confusing food pyramid and the My Plate and all those things that you would see if you go to the regular dietitian, right? So the Beam Food Pyramid, what is this? Well, what makes it simple is that essentially it is based on the real food system, and we're going to go right into it, right? It's a pyramid like any other, and this pyramid has 3 levels, or 3 tiers as I call them, right? Of course, the bottom level is the biggest, and that would indicate the foods that you can eat freely, right? And at the bottom tier, tier 1, the bottom level, those are the foods that come from the land and the sea. Those come directly from the land, directly from the sea. Those are foods that are not processed in any way. They're basically picked from a tree, dug from the ground, or fished from the sea, okay? So that would be all your root vegetables, your carrots, your beets. It's going to be your sweet potato, regular potatoes as well. It's going to be your greens, all your vegetables. It's going to be the fruits that you pick from the trees. It's going to be nuts. It's going to be seeds, right? It's going to be legumes. It's going to be your eggs, right? It's going to be your chicken. It's going to be your meat from all those animals that live on the land, okay? It's going to be seaweed. That's a plant from the sea. So anything that you get directly from the land and the sea, those form the bottom tier, right? Straight from the land, and you can eat those foods freely. Now, usually, of course, you're going to have a variety, a combination of foods, because you want to have foods from the 3 major food groups. It's going to be your protein, right? So your legumes, your meats, and so on. You're going to have your complex starches, right? Complex carbohydrates. So those would be your vegetables, fruits, root tubers, and so on and so forth. And then fat would be coming from your meats, usually, right? Your eggs, your fish and seafood from the sea, okay? And those in combination will be most of what you want to eat. That's the bottom of the pyramid, or tier 1. Now, tier 2, that's the middle section of this 3-level pyramid. Those are going to be your transformed foods. So those foods are basically foods from the bottom, right, tier 1, which have been transformed, right, for more uses, to give it more usefulness, right? For preservation, right? To enhance the taste. So cooking is a form of transformation, right? But generally speaking, we're talking about crushing. So you can crush nuts to get nut butter. We're talking about fermentation. So you're going to ferment milk to get yogurt and kefir. You're going to ferment beans, specifically soybeans, and you're going to get things like tempeh, right? You're going to ferment vegetables. You're going to get sauerkraut and so on, right? You're going to churn cream to get butter. You're going to culture milk to get cheese. You're going to press fatty fruit. You're going to press olives. You're going to press avocado, you're going to press coconuts to get your oils, okay? You're going to freeze or freeze dry different foods to preserve them. You're going to salt or cure different meats or fish, right? Again, for preservation, for enhancement of the taste, right? So you transform foods from the base, right? From the land and sea, right? To get other things that you can use in different ways, like your nut butters, even grains. You will mill grains to enhance the use. Wheat is not that useful, but you mill it and you can make your bread. And so the important thing about tier 2 foods is that nothing has been removed. So none of the naturally occurring nutrients have been removed from these foods, and nothing bad has been added, okay? So that's your tier 2. So you can see that tier 1 and tier 2, they have their natural nutrients. You can have them in combination, in variety. Now the third and final tier, or the apex of the pyramid, that's the top of the pyramid, that's tier 3, and those are foods that come from a factory. Those are new man-made foods, okay? And those foods are those where some of the natural nutrients, some of the good things are removed, fiber is removed, naturally occurring fat is removed, and other nutrients which would be present with the regular fat and the fiber and so on are removed as a result. And in addition to you removing the goodness, bad things are added, right? So preservatives, artificial colors, random fillers, right? And all sorts of other chemicals, pesticides, okay? So you have good things being removed, bad things being added, and just a mishmash of different chemicals and individual ingredients coming together to create new foods. So like your potato chips, right? Your juice drinks, all the things, some fast food restaurants where they put, you used to look at the ingredient list and it's like 20, 30, 40 different ingredients, right? So anything that comes from a factory, those are going to be a tier 3 foods. Those foods are missing nutrients, right? And they have things that could potentially harm you, all right? So when you look at this pyramid, okay, you will see, or you probably have figured out, that you can eat freely from tier 1, the bottom, and the second level, and you want to avoid the third level. Why is it that I'm saying that even for you as a diabetic, your blood sugar is going to be better if you eat from the bottom and the second level? Because the naturally occurring fat, the naturally occurring fiber, the naturally occurring protein, because those things were not removed, you have a more complex food, a richer, more complex food that will take your body a longer time to break down. And because your body has to work harder to extract the nutrients to get whatever sugar, glucose is in these foods, your blood sugar levels will not go up as quickly and will not go up as high, ultimately speaking, okay? And so if you follow this beam food ranking system, this beam food pyramid, right, and stick with the bottom layer and the second layer, and really try your best to limit or avoid those foods from the apex, those factory foods, you will find that your blood sugar will stabilize eventually, right? It'll take a while because your body has to get used to this way and start working properly again to process the nutrients from the food, and then you won't have to worry about these sugar spikes. Now, additionally, all right, you're gonna want to combine the foods, but not just combine. So you can say, oh, well, I can eat all the starch I want, all the fruit I want, but if you eat more of one and not enough of the other, well, you will have a bit of an imbalance, right? So you want to combine a variety of different foods. You have to have a variety of colors. If you take a page out of the book of Japanese, right? They are famous for combining a variety of flavors. They have 5 flavors: sweet, sour, salt, bitter, and umami, right? And they tend to have 5 different colors as well on their plate. And then they like the idea of 5 different modes of preparation. They always have something raw, something boiled, steamed, baked, fried, okay? So you want to combine the different modes of preparation, combine the textures, combine the colors, right? Combine the flavors. And another thing I will say is that you want to try to eat with the seasons as well. So sometimes you might have more of certain types of fruits, more of certain types of vegetables, and other times you do not. Sometimes you might have more meat, you might have more seafood, and other times not, right? So you might not necessarily be able to get the same things on your plate every day, year after year, but you eat with nature, eat with the seasons, and ultimately just aim for a variety of these 6 colors, textures, flavors, modes of preparation, something raw on your plate most of the times as much as you can with all your meals. And if you practice eating in this way, right, and if you choose, because you know we're in the modern world and we probably cannot avoid all all processed foods altogether, all the foods from tier 3, the apex, right, we don't want to have more than 20%, right? So that 80-20 rule, right? 20% or less of your food should be from the apex or from the third tier of the pyramid, right? 30% from the factory, and the rest would be those close to nature with all the nutrients remaining and not overly processed, so that your body still has some work to do to get the foods. Okay, so be consistent with this, study this, and you know this pyramid is outlined nicely in my book Beaming Health, available on Amazon and in other places where books are sold. But definitely this is going to be the way for you to be able to eat without having to worry that you're going to have a blood sugar spike, without having to feel as if you're walking on eggshells every time you go to eat a meal, because at the end of the day, eating is one of the simple pleasures of life, and you should be able to eat a good meal, enjoy it, and not have to worry. I hope you found this video helpful, and share it with somebody who you think might benefit, and I will see you on the next video. Have a good day. Bye.